So I know because of this global pandemic, many of us are thrust into a situation where now we're working from home. Now, I've been working from home for 20 years and I've learned a lot of things throughout those years. Some things that work for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share them with you right now. Hey everybody, it's Colin Smith here from photoshopCAFE.com, and the world has kind of changed. We call it the new normal, but there's really nothing normal about it. Some of us are used to working from home from our, when I say from home, literally our homes. Other people are used to going into an office or a different workspace every day. So for about 20 years, sure, I've had studios and offsite places throughout the time, and I still hold a studio offsite, but the majority of my work for the last 20 years, I have been working from home, from a home office. How to be productive, and believe it or not, that can be a challenge for a lot of people. And then the other one is getting the right mentality so all the days don't just blend in together and it just becomes one endless Black Mirror event. It's actually quite easy to stay sane if you follow these tips. So let's talk about productivity. So the key to productivity is really separation. You want to have separation of space, separation of time. These are two really big things. So right now I'm working out of a spare bedroom which has been converted into a home office. So I've removed the doors from the closet. There's nothing here that reminds me of a bedroom. There's shelves, there's books, all the things I need in an office. Essentially, this looks just like an office I would have set up off-site. Now, of course, not everyone is going to have the luxury of having that. And when I started, I didn't. I had roommates and I was working out of a bedroom, and my office space was just basically a desk. And it doesn't matter if it's a desk or a dedicated room or, a den, maybe a part of a garage, half your living room. It doesn't matter. The important thing is to have that space, which is your workspace. Now, when I'm in my workspace, I work. And when I'm not in my workspace, I don't. But it's really important to kind of have that separation. When you go into that space, whether it be an office or a corner or a closet, whatever it is, when you go into that area, you've got to consider that you're at work, this is your workspace, and now you're the work you. So when I finish work, I leave this room, I figuratively speaking, shut the door, and I don't go back there until I'm working. Now, there might be another space which is my leisure space, such for example, my living room, my sofa. So I never work when I'm on the sofa. When I sit down on that sofa, I'm watching TV, I'm watching Netflix, I'm doing whatever. I'm in my leisure time and I'm not doing work in that task. But what I'm doing is I'm drawing that distinction between if I'm at work and I'm not. So the next one is separation of time. All right, so whenever you are at your peak productivity, your peak energy, and your peak creativity, that's the time you want to work. For some people, it will be the morning where they wake up nice and fresh. And for other people, it might be late at night. Now, here's the important thing, though, is having that distinction of when you're at work and you're not at work. Now, when you are working during those work times, concentrate on work. That's not the time to be watching TV, hanging out with friends, doing, personal Zoom calls, things like that. That's the time when you focus on doing your work. And the important thing about that is the flip side, which a lot of people don't do. And that's when you finish work, you finish work. I know what I'm saying sounds really basic, but a lot of people don't do that. They're somewhere in this limbo of somewhere between work, somewhere between home, because in their home environment, they're comfortable, and so they're watching TV during the day. They're sort of working on the laptop, and then what's happening is you're never focusing on your work, you're never being productive, you're not getting the job done, and at the same time, you're not properly relaxing and having proper recreation time. So what I do is I work, and then when I'm done working, I will watch Netflix or whatever. I won't be working at that time thinking about work. It's a distinction. It's like work me, the home me. Really, really important to have that distinction. Another thing that's really important is eliminating distractions. It's so easy to be distracted when you're working from home and not getting things done. I do not turn on the television during the day. I don't watch movies or Netflix. Some people it might help them work, but for me it doesn't. So I'll listen to music when I'm working. That definitely helps me. But other things to remove distractions. One of the biggest distractions is this. Every 2 seconds you're going to get a notification, and I'll check my messages when I take those break times. Now it is important to take a break for lunch. Maybe take a break in the morning, cup of coffee, maybe a little one in the afternoon. You want to give yourself those short breaks, just like you would in a regular office. Get up, stretch your legs, get a little bit of exercise, get a little bit of food, and then that's the time to check those messages and do those personal calls. The rest of the time, don't look at it. And the Apple Watch, I love my Apple Watch, but I will not wear it when I'm working because it always taps. And before I know it, I'm going down a rabbit hole of different things. The worst notification center on the Apple computer. It is a built-in distraction bot. Turn it off. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to give you a little tip here. When you go to turn it off, it will only let you turn it off one day at a time. It won't let you turn it off permanently. I think you can go into the terminal and do a script, but there's an easy way. All I do is I put it on sleep for 23 hours and 59 minutes a day. And I let it wake up. So literally, I will put it to sleep. Sleep starts at 1:01 a.m. and runs through, this is my do not disturb, until 1 a.m. Because what happens with those, you'll just see a message will come up or a news flash or something, and before you know it, you're 3 hours into surfing YouTube videos or doing other things. Particularly when you're working on menial tasks that you don't want to do, it's very, very easy to get distracted because you really don't want to do those tasks. But the real reason for removing these distractions is so you can get into that zone, get into that momentum. You know what it's like. It takes forever to get things ramped up. Maybe you've got to write a newsletter. Maybe you're retouching a photo or creating a composite, whatever it is. It takes a long time for you to get into that place. But when you get into that place, ideas are flowing, the productivity is happening, the momentum's going. I call this the zone. Sometimes you can get lost and time doesn't exist, place doesn't exist anymore. You're so into your work, and this is when you create your best work. This is like the equivalent of your REM eye movement when you're sleeping. This is the equivalent of that when you're awake. This is why you're at work. And when that happens, guard it by all means. Don't let anything pull you out or distract you from it, because this is where you can get your work done. And so focus on that. Get your work done, and then worry about the other things later. Now, here's another thing. If you're not feeling inspired and nothing is happening and you're just sitting there, I know you've done it. I've done it, where you just literally grab a menu and you drag it down the bottom of the screen. And then you move the menu back to the top of the screen, or you click on your clock and you're just clicking around on your screen doing absolutely nothing. This is the time to get up, take a break. If it's near the end of the day, call it a day. Really, people have about 3 hours to 4 hours of peak efficiency in them. So make sure, take note of what time that is for you and really push that through and get your work done when you're at your peak efficiency. Book phone calls, schedule meetings, all these things outside of that time, so you're not pulled out of your peak time or the zone, I like to call it. Being in the zone is like, especially in creativity, when you're doing what you love, it's like a drug. You get lost in there, and this is why we do what we do, to get into that zone. I get passionate when I talk about it because that's why I do what I do. It's all for that. Everything else is supplemental. There are other things I have to do to support it. I don't necessarily enjoy all of those, but you've got to get them done. So, consider making a schedule and make the schedule around the time that works for you. Schedule calls and things outside of your time of peak productivity. Keep personal calls during your personal time. Give yourself breaks. And if you do that, you're going to find that you're going to be much more efficient. And once again, I want to recap. When you're done for the day, you're done for the day. Recreate. Do, a hobby. Play your guitar. Do whatever it is that you want to do, but don't be working. Let yourself fully relax. So here's the thing. If you have a roommate or a spouse, let them know this is the time when I'm going to be working. Please, just make an agreement that, you'll talk or communicate or whatever outside of those times, but don't disturb unless it's an emergency. And as hard as that might be, that's really, really important if you want to get things done. Now, if you have children, small children or children at home, which I know a lot of you do, I'm not even going to try to give you advice or give you my opinion because I don't have children. I'm not the one to give you that advice. It would just be foolish for me to attempt to be an expert in that area where I have no experience. All right, here's a big one. Breaking it up. How do we break it up? And what do I mean by that? Well, one of the things I've heard from a lot of people, they don't know what day of the week it is. Every day is running. The days are all running together. They all seem the same. It's like Groundhog Day. I don't have that problem. And the reason I don't have that problem is because I break it up and I do certain things on certain days. And I respect the weekend. Now, it wasn't always this way. I didn't always have the luxury of being able to take weekends off. But I've worked hard for many years and I've gotten to that place where I can take weekends off and I protect my weekends. Sure, sometimes I have to work on the weekends, but I don't make a rule of it. I make an exception. And I do things differently on the weekends, different schedule. For example, I like to play my guitar on a Saturday morning. I'll pull out my guitar and I'll play, I'll jam, and I don't worry about time because this is my time when I'm playing guitar. I'm not doing anything else. I'm not working. That's that. And it kind of makes that kind of like a Saturday morning. When I'm not in lockdown, I never eat on the weekends the same places that I eat during the week. I will go somewhere else, and it just makes the weekends a little bit special. Maybe you stay up a little later on a Friday night, a Saturday night. Maybe you eat different food on the weekends. You know, maybe you're going to have pizza on Friday night. I always have a steak on Sunday night if I can. It's one of the things I do. So there's certain things that I do differently on those weekends. One of the things I try not to do is schedule anything on the weekends. Obviously, you know, if I'm scheduling something with friends, that's a different thing. But a lot of the time, I'll just kind of do that. Or I'll do sketching or working on hobbies or just doing something different. Maybe take a nap on a Sunday afternoon. Things you don't do during the week. And if you do that, it will actually break it up, which makes a huge difference. Because that means rather than life being one big, long, endless churn, it becomes little segments. Like a train, little carriages where you have each week. Set goals for each week. Set weekly goals and review them on a Sunday night. So that breaks it up. So every Monday I start fresh. It's a new week. Every Sunday it's the end of a week. So there's a beginning and an end. And it stops the monotony and seems like a very easy thing, right? But it makes a huge difference. So one of the questions I get asked a lot from people is, what kind of gear do I use at home? So I've made a part 2 of this video. Check it out. And also at the end of that part 2, we're going to be giving away a Wacom tablet. So we're going to walk through all the gear that I use. Check it out. And I hope this video was some help to you, some use. Let me know in the comments underneath, were any of these tips useful, things maybe you can apply, maybe some of the things I was talking about describes you. Let me know. And by the way, guys, if you're new here to Photoshop Cafe, consider hitting the subscribe button and you'll get a new video from me every single week. Turn on all the notifications so you know when I upload. And during this pandemic, every Thursday, we're doing a live stream where we all come together at 1 o'clock Pacific time. And every Tuesday, I upload a new Photoshop tutorial. So anyway, guys, if you like this, smash the like button into dust. And until next time, I'll see you at the cafe.